So we're back in the big snowy city, and this time I've got something new with me. You feel like introducing yourself?
Hi, I'm Andy.
So Lobo can't make it for these videos, so I'll shame him later, make him feel real bad. So Andy, what do you know about Dark Souls?
Oh boy. Well, I'm something of a Dark Souls veteran at this point, I guess. I picked up Demon Souls when it was basically brand new, and instantly was just like, this game is something real special.
So you've been in it from the start?
Oh yeah. I'm a bona fide Dark Souls 2 apologist.
Wow, there's so many of you anymore. I really wish maybe I hadn't done this.
I mean, I completely understand why people don't like that game. I think it's very similar to why I'm not huge on this game in some aspects.
Well, I'm sure we'll have plenty of time for you to espouse why you don't really like, or what you don't really like about this game. But how much of Dark Souls 3 have you played?
I beat the base game. I beat DLC 1, and then DLC 2 was when I just got completely sick of it. I think I got up to well, I don't want to spoil anything, but I got up to a certain point that seems to be a roadblock for a lot of people.
In the DLC? Was it like a boss?
It wasn't a boss, it was an area.
I might know what you're talking about. But that's, I don't know, I really like that DLC. It kind of makes up for a lot of the issues of not having enough content in the first one.
Yeah, it's definitely better than DLC 1. It's just that I was so kind of salty on this game at that point that I just didn't want to play it anymore.
Mm-hmm.
But this is actually, I think, one of the better areas in the game. I think this area has a lot of good things going for it.
It feels the most realized, I think.
Yeah. And not to get into any specifics, but it's one of the few quotes in this game that I think really works. Which is something that's really my biggest gripe with this game, I think, is how much of the lore or kind of flavor of the game relies on Dark Souls 1 specifically.
Yeah, I've kind of been bringing up how much Dark Souls 1 stuff just kind of gets copied wholesale.
Yeah. I kind of marathoned the LP over the past couple days.
Yeah, it's sort of a... I noticed online people were comparing it more to Demon Souls, and I can see the comparisons there, but like story-wise, it's just so very much the first game.
Yeah. Ooh. These guys are interesting. I really like their weapon.
So these guys are called Burning Stake Witches.
Oh.
I mean, I'm just thankful that they are susceptible to being launched in the air. That's my favorite thing with my Demon's Fist.
It's very helpful.
Yeah, so I had to pull up a bunch of names for the enemies in this and the next area, because they're really dumb, and I would never have guessed them. Apparently these guys are just the Corvians, maybe, that we've been fighting before, minus the wings.
Huh.
I don't know, I'm going off of a fan-made wiki. I can't really rely too much.
I mean, fair enough. It's not something I ever really noticed.
I mean, I really do like the look of this area. I don't want to say I'm not a fan of the boss. He's difficult, okay? He's kind of tough.
Fair enough.
And he kicks my ass.
I liked your little punch to finish that guy off.
I think probably the worst thing about the Demon's Fist is really hard to tell when I'm using a heavy charged attack, because it's just a normal punch with a huge wind-up.
Yeah.
So these guys are Pontiff Knights, and they can get really aggressive 2-on-1, so I kind of try to mess with kiting them over. Because the other one that was walking with this one, he's totally forgotten I exist already.
Dark Souls. I forget. Is that the sword art or weapon art for this for the Demon Fist?
Yes.
It's a good weapon art.
The punch to the ground that launches enemies in the air, that's optional. You have to kind of trigger that separately.
Mm-hmm.
But I have a really bad combo now where I have a sword that regains FP on kills and a really fancy weapon that uses FP for its fanciest attacks, so I kind of alternate between the two.
That makes sense. Good old crystal lizards.
They were one of the worst things in Dark Souls 2, because I could not hit those things to save my life.
Well, because almost none of the weapons... Oh. You know, I don't think I ever found that.
So, Irithyll has a ton of secret little areas.
Huh.
So this area I don't like, because after we drop off and get a certain miracle, I have to run all the way back, because there's no like ladder up that I know of. But we saw at the beginning there was one of those evangelists behind this gate, and now we can drop down.
Oh wait, then I have to have found this area, because I've been back there before. Huh. Maybe it's been longer since I played this game than I actually thought. Oh boy.
So yeah, this is one of the bigger examples of why I'm glad that they sort of incorporated Bloodborne combat speed into Dark Souls again, because my biggest complaint with Dark Souls 2 was how slow it felt, how weighty everything was.
Yeah, I mean that's a big... It's in Dark Souls 2 and 3 are really interesting, I think, because they both, oh boy, they both fumble really, really hard in one aspect, and I think which aspect is important to you is, I'm not articulating this well, but, so I really like the kind of story beats and the atmosphere of these games.
Yeah.
And I think Dark Souls 2 did that just really, really, really well. Like, it's some of my favorite story stuff in the whole series, besides Bloodborne, but Bloodborne's an outlier.
Yeah, I wouldn't disagree on the story. Like, I'm not super in love with it for Dark Souls 2, but I understand that it's way different from the first and now the third one, that it's easier to even remember what happens in that.
Yeah.
But my duty must be done.
But it fumbled hard on the gameplay, especially with adaptation. I don't know what they were thinking with that.
Yeah, I'll never understand a game that is like a character action game like this with quick combat that relies on like a background stat for stuff like iframes and healing.
Well, it's so, because the animations are fundamentally the most important part about this game, I think. That no matter what you do, the animations are always the same. Except for Dark Souls 2.
But here we have Henri. We're very close to the end of her storyline.
Hooray.
There's something in this room that I can't do, but I also can't say exactly what it is. But there's something hidden in this room that might just be hiding in plain sight.
I wonder what it could be.
Oh my, you are. But
So for all these people that I thought were supposed to die, there's a lot of them around.
I know, right?
as long as it takes a dark droplet to fall, that is all.
I love the writing in these games.
Gracious Lord. Oh,
Especially when you do that.
So I won't say anything past, I probably shouldn't kill that person. I'll explain why once we get to a certain point. It's kind of within this area that everything sort of comes together for Henri's questline. But now we gotta go kind of go in a weird kind of circle, spiral around this area.
We're coming up on some of my favorite enemies in the whole game.
I have an idea of who that might be, but there's one particular enemy by himself who's waiting around this courtyard.
It's a humanity sprite.
So I'm not too afraid to admit that still playing this game and not realizing that one's about to sneak up on you kind of jumps me every once in a while.
I totally get that.
Especially when there's dozens of them later. Hey, Creighton's back.
Hello.
So I mean, it's totally cool if you just want to like do something else for the next couple of seconds. You know, not
Oh no.
not watch this. I fucking hate you, Creighton, so goddamn much.
Warcry is a good weapon art.
So I'm back. I'm getting this item over here, or these items rather, before I even deal with Creighton, because they're pretty good.
Oh, now that I'm wearing headphones, I only just realized how distressing the noises that those things make.
Oh, they are incredibly horrifying.
Ugh.
But I've been training for all of 0 minutes, and I think I'm ready to take on Creighton.
I believe. Woo.
I don't think I've ever been able to do that to a human player, but I imagine it's just as embarrassing.
I don't think I ever saw anybody using the Demon's Fist when I was doing Dark Souls 3 to PvP.
I've tried, and it's not great. It was actually because of this character that I had to learn the Executioner's Greatsword for PvP. For a section that might be coming up.
Oh, I think I know what you're talking about.
So I like Irithyll. I really don't like going through this bottom section.
Oh, I forgot about these ones. Oh boy.
Where the hell did that guy come from?
Yeah, you can feel the Bloodborne influence in this whole area.
Oh my god, it's these goddamn dogs. I think that's the first time in a very long time I've turtled behind a shield like that.
Look, man, when the dogs have human faces.
So, you did hear that dog, right?
Yeah.
I think it died.
I saw the souls go up. It probably just clipped through a wall. That's usually what happens to those dogs.
Not even the first time in this LP that that's happened. So this room is kind of a pain, because we have a lot of these invisible guys, and some of them that don't know how to stand. And it's the ones that fall from the rafters that are really not cool.
Yeah, I usually just run past and start up in the rafters and work my way down. Is there an explanation for this semi-invisibility all these guys have?
Miyazaki hates you. I think that's kind of the determination.
Fair enough. I would say that it's related to the snowy area from Dark Souls 1, but Dark Souls 2, but you know, that game doesn't exist, so.
Oh, good. Then I can completely forget about it. I think it's maybe a little ironic that I got so fed up with dealing with stuff with Dark Souls 2 that I didn't actually do the DLC for the LP, which is like not even an argument for me, like the best part of that game.
Oh, it's like some of my in terms of quality of game to quality of DLC, like it's probably the best in the series.
I think the biggest thing that warded me off of it was just the fact that I would have to face the Fume Knight again and another Smelter Demon. Like, those DLCs have some good bosses, but, like, if I have to fight 2 invisible tiger things at once, I don't know if I want to go through with that.
Yeah, I never... Those... It's funny, the DLCs, all 3 of them, 2 fantastic areas, 1 area that is just so ill-conceived and has probably the worst boss. Yeah, the second I saw another Smelter Demon, I was like, I'm never coming to this area ever again.
Actually, the first time I went through the DLC, just the prospect of having to fight another Smelter Demon and knowing that the lead up to that is like a huge, just insane hallway of enemies with no bonfires.
Ugh.
I took the shortcut or whatever around it. I never fought it the first time.
The quote-unquote shortcut.
I will take an hour and a half to save myself days of grief.
Oh, that poor man.
Well, now he's done. He never has to worry about getting trampled on again.
What a horrible way to go.
So would the enemy you're looking forward to, would they happen to be in the water?
Perhaps.
Would they happen to be snorkeling right now?
You could say that.
Okay. Those enemies are fun.
Speaking of Bloodborne influence.
I think those are the closest things we're gonna get to spiders in this game, if I remember correctly. I think they dialed back the spider for Dark Souls 3, which, you know, I'm totally cool with. So that loud-pitched scream that we heard has kind of alerted every invisible enemy in this small little area. So I am on the lookout.
Oh boy. Yeah, even just the fact that enemies make horrible little creaky sounds when they die. You can definitely tell it's on the Bloodborne engine.
Oh man, I don't know what would be worse, the ones that make creaking noises or the one that's like you can just hear the footsteps.
So I kind of talked past the introduction to those wonderful little ladies.
Do you happen to know what they're called?
Let me guess. Creepy willows.
Close. Sewer centipedes.
Yeah, all right.
I mean, clearly, you know, they're not in the sewer right now, but they will be. And I would maybe debate that whole centipede thing. But this is the area right here that if I hadn't beat the Pontiff Beast, I would have to fight him in this water. And he's relentless.
Oh, yeah, I remember the first time through, I didn't, I just ran past the Pontiff Beast at first, not realizing he would disappear forever. And yeah, I got here and it was a,
It's not a good surprise.
No.
So, we're about to see a lot more of your favorite enemies, about 8 or 10 of them.
Hooray!
And then we're gonna visit an old friend we haven't seen in a good while.
Huh?
So this is how you know we're in the sewer, is when we're picking up actual shit.
That's an aspect of these games I think gets glossed over a lot. This very common item that's literally just a pile of poo.
That hurts you as much as it hurts someone else.
Do they still toxic you?
I believe they do. If not toxic, at least poison. Like, they want you to know that you are making a mistake.
They want you to know that you're being just the worst right now.
So aside from picking up actual poo, there's some ashes over here, also covered in poo.
Hooray!
Now, who could this be?
Aww. Good old Clippy helmet.
You can almost see his whole face.
Wait a second.
Yeah, sleeping with his eyes open?
Excuse me,
I'll excuse it.
dozed off.
The Catarina Knights are very
Rather warm
powerful.
in here. Well, hasn't it been all too long? It's good to see you. Oh, I seem to have missed my chance, so I, Siegwart of Catarina, offer my deepest gratitude. And a little surprise to go with it. It's all yours. I know. Won't you join me for dinner? I make a fine Esther soup. I've got some stewing right now. Even we
So I think this is a little weird that there's Estes soup over on the stove right now. But even if Siegward doesn't come through this area, like you don't talk to him or you miss him, there's still soup.
And our sworn duties.
I guess you just left it there.
Long may the sun shine. Have you heard? Somewhere, hidden right here. in
So
Irithyll,
I think now is a pretty good time to explain the whole
and even
Grey
beyond
Rat
that,
situation
the profaned
for
capital,
Irithyll, because it's a little
home of Yorm.
complicated, and I'm probably gonna get something wrong. 'Cause it's real weird how it works.
Reminds me,
Yeah.
I've a
So
grave
we sent
promise
Grey
to
Rat
keep.
to pillage Irithyll, but there's a really easy way to have him get killed.
I'm afraid I've cast
The
a
way,
cloud
or
over things.
one of the ways, to have him rescued is to have Siegward here.
I'm going to
And
have
I guess
myself
behind
a
the
little
scenes
nap.
he'll save Grey Rat,
The only
and then
thing to
everybody's
do,
happy.
Really, after a nice toast.
So, if you send Grey Rat to pillage, and then we enter another area without facing the boss, and Siegward isn't here or Grey Rat hasn't come back yet, Grey Rat can end up dead.
And we don't want that.
But if I forget how this exactly goes, if you've talked to Patches but not rescued Siegward, Patches will go dressed as Siegward, and he will go rescue Grey Rat.
The interaction between Patches and Siegward in this game, I don't know if I love it or hate it.
I'm still not sure how many people were genuinely fooled by Patches pretending to be Siegward with a terrible impression of him. Like, how many
So
games
good.
now? How many games? Like, we're on the 5th, like, Soulsborne game? How many times do you need to hear the word treasure before that just, like, triggers some Pavlovian response?
I have a Pavlovian response, and it's I have to do this immediately for my good friend Patches.
Oh, there's treasure over there? Well, I can't imagine what cutscene's gonna start playing when I walk across this weird, like, pillar.
Patches, you're always so good to me.
I mean, I guess I can safely say that Patches has never stolen from me, so we're still on good terms.
Classic PvP move.
Just spam parry until you get it.
Well, you get hit once, and then you block the parry in the next attack.
That's actually my Gwyn strategy for Dark Souls 1.
It's honestly, it's a good strategy.
So yeah, Dark Souls 1 enemies are back here, the Silver Knights. I don't believe any of these Silver Knights in this room. First off, I don't think they respawn, and I don't think you can ever get their armor from them.
I'm not sure either.
I'm fairly certain it's a set drop of just large Titanite shards. But like the Silver Knight armor anyway is a ridiculously rare drop. I really don't like how hard it is to get.
Ooh, 2 Titanite shards.
So there are all these big urns around the place that they're filled with cold or whatever, and they can build up your frostbite if you break them.
Ah, the Leo ring for no reason. Ah, Smo's great hammer for no reason.
I guess they weren't really sure where to put this. Like, hey, we gotta have everything from Dark Souls 1 and 2, mostly in terms of like weapons and armor. Where do we just put Small's hammer?
I don't know, let's just have it right above the painting of Guinevere? Guinevere. Ooh, very ominous.
So that's 2 of maybe 3 references to Dark Souls 2.
It's so... Yeah, I don't know. I feel like I've read people theorizing that Dark Souls 3 takes place in between. Well, I mean, certain parts of Dark Souls 3 takes place in between Dark Souls 1 and 2.
I would love to see them prove that.
Yeah, I've never seen a convincing theory. I like to think that Dark Souls 2 just kind of happens in its own timeline or chronology or whatever.
I don't really like to use the whole B-team thing when talking about Dark Souls 2, but like, it kind of makes sense that it just exists in its own little pocket universe.
Yeah, although the themes definitely rely on it having Dark Souls 1 happen. That's what I like about the game. It's all about basically how much Gwyn screwed over humanity by tying it to his dying little flame.
He was so worried about losing his own power that I guess he just decided to sit in a room for the rest of his life and burn to death.
Yeah. It's kind of a shame because I like some of the things that Dark Souls 3 does, especially with DLC 2. But even now with the whole literally time is coming to an end and everything is just mashing together.
Yeah.
It's interesting. It's just a shame so much of it is just a quote for no reason. It's kind of what I was alluding to before as to why, like, Dark Souls 3 has probably the best gameplay
I would say that.
of specifically the Soul series, not counting the Born.
Yeah, Bloodborne's way too good.
Yeah. As a seasoned Souls veteran, I can definitely say with confidence that I think Bloodborne is the best one out of all of them.
My biggest gripe with it is that I went for the Platinum Trophy. Those Chalice dungeons fucking suck.
Oh, the Chalice dungeons are garbage. But the actual designed parts of those games is wonderful.
Yeah.
Speaking of Dark Souls 2 apologists, are you familiar with H-Bomber Guy's videos on the series?
I have watched it. I have watched it exactly one time. It was weird seeing a lot of my arguments come up through other people, like word for word, and it's like, am I just like parroting a lot of what people say? But again, like, I won't argue that the story is good in that. Like, my biggest, like, I know you said earlier, it's kind of like what you value the most, and when it comes to these games, it's gameplay.
Yeah.
And for me, and like gameplay and boss design, and I had a big problem with this sort of boss reuse problem that Dark Souls 2 had a lot of.
Yeah.
But like I don't know how I feel about H Bomber Guy's video. Like, I don't feel any better about Dark Souls 2.
That's the thing with H Bomber Guy. I find myself disagreeing with him a lot, but he's articulate about the things I disagree with him about. Mm-hmm. Which is always something I value in, somebody I don't agree with. But yeah, he did kind of, like, between him and Bonfireside Chat's Dark Souls 2 season, when it was still contemporary, those echo a lot of my kind of thoughts on the game, I think. And like I said, the problem I have with Dark Souls 3 is probably this reuse of content from Dark Souls 1. Which is weird, because that's always been an element of the series. You always have patches, you always have a swamp, you always have the Moonlight Greatsword and whatever.
And that's probably why this area in particular stands out so much, because it is so different from anything we've seen in a Dark Souls game.
Yeah, well this and the upcoming, like, the end of this spoke is, I think, the most successful this game was at quoting Dark Souls 1. There's little flashes of brilliance, I think. I really liked the Abyss Watchers.
Yeah, they were cool.
And that, yeah, they fight like Artorias, but they do interesting things with that, and it's for a reason.
So we've kind of looped through all of the base of Irithyll now. We pretty much just have the boss to go, and in order to get Grey Rat back, I need to beat a boss, and since I've beaten every single one that we've encountered so far, I have to do this one, and I'm not too excited about it.
Whee.
But yeah, I gotta rest up, because I panic probably the most during this and like one other boss fight in the game.
It's fair enough. It's fair enough.
It's gonna be fun.
Hooray!